Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
You know, I'm always glad to see when a business or an organization can continue to grow, because the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County at one point was located in a little tiny office above the main ingredient or main and market on Bay Ridge Avenue. And now they are over here on 900 Bestgate Road in a much larger office, which tells me that there must be doing good, which is a wonderful thing to hear. And we're here today with John Rodenhausen, who is the Director of Gift Planning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, John.
Well, you are over here at 900 Bestgate Road, which is probably the first high-rise that appeared on Bestgate Road, aside from maybe the bank down at the corner of Bestgate.
That might be true. That might be true.
But you would know it's the big, tall brick building that's directly opposite the mall. We wanted to stop in and really sort of learn about the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County. You know, I've seen the name for years and everybody knows that it exists. But what is a community foundation?
It's a great question. And we definitely do not want to be the best kept secret in Anne Arundel County. Community foundations have been around for over 100 years. They started in the Midwest. The idea was that leveraged giving is powerful. Not everybody can be a Rockefeller or a Jeff Bezos or somebody like that. But together we can have tremendous impacts through our philanthropy supporting nonprofit community. So we are all 501c3s. So we are the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County, but there are 13 different community foundations here in the state of Maryland. So you have Montgomery County, you have the Midshore Community Foundation over in Easton, you've got the Eastern Shore Community Foundation down in Salisbury. So we're all over the state, we're all over the country. And the idea is we try to support nonprofits through grants. And we try to support the donors who are trying to support those nonprofits.
And when you say we, I mean, you talked about Midshore and Montgomery County and everything. You guys are not, I mean, you're all independent, right?
Correct.
I mean, so it's, you operate probably completely different than Montgomery County than other, I mean, basic conceptually, you work the same.
Essentially, so there is a saying in the community foundation world, if you've seen one community foundation, you have seen one community foundation. We all do have a little bit of a different focus area. We manage funds in support of nonprofits. And so we help support donors to set up the right type of fund so they can achieve their philanthropic goals. When you say that we operate independently, that is correct. But there's this thing called the Council on Foundation that helps keep us all together. So if I have a legal question, I can reach out to Council on Foundations and they can advise us and make sure that we're doing everything to the letter of the law.
Okay. Well, I imagine that there is probably a lot of law letters involved with this. But I mean, essentially you said you've got donors and everything else. So, I mean, from what I gather, this is, if I decide I want to be philanthropic, I can come to the Community Foundation and say, hey, green plants sitting next to gray pitchers, as we look in the conference room here, really jazz me. And that's what I want to find. And if there's a nonprofit that does, you know, green plants and gray pitchers, you can direct whatever funds I give to you through them, to them?
Yeah, so it's written right in our mission statement. So we are here in Anne Arundel County to promote and inspire philanthropy by connecting donors who care with causes that matter. So we're a bit of a matchmaker. You know, so I will sit down as the director of gift planning. I'll sit down with a donor. Maybe they're at the beginning of their philanthropy. Maybe they're really experienced and savvy, but I'll try to learn what's important to them as a person, what's important to their family, what values would align with a nonprofit of a certain sort. And then I will try to bring to that conversation the nonprofits that we know about who are meeting the needs that are important to those donors. A great example is our needs assessment report. It's called Poverty Amidst Plenty. We're about to release the 8th edition this summer in conjunction with Dr. Pam Brown. And the idea is, let's track what the needs are. And when a donor comes to us and says, you know, what does Anne Arundel County need? What's the best return on my investment? How can I make the most impact in our community? We can then bring to light some well-vetted nonprofits who are doing that type of work, so that when a donor contributes their funds, we know it's going to a respected, transparent, and in compliance nonprofit that's doing that work.
Do most of your donors that come in here that are looking to establish a life of philanthropy come in blind, so to speak, to say, hey, so what are the needs of Anne Arundel County? Or are they coming in saying, hey, I'm really want to talk to you about homelessness, or I want to talk to you about drug addiction, or
it's all the above. We have some folks who maybe they just moved to the area and they said, hey, I was at a cocktail party the other night. I heard about the community foundation. I was wondering how you might help me. So we can really help them on their philanthropic journey. There are other folks who have been running a family foundation for decades, and they finally get to a point in their lives where they're like, honestly, we would like to hand the administrative part over to somebody else. We're at a different stage in our life. How can you help us? And so we work with everybody on that spectrum of philanthropy to give them what they need.
I'm excited about homelessness, and I want to make sure that I can do something to make an impact of that. I've got, maybe I've got $20, maybe I've got $20 million. Why would I not just go directly to a nonprofit and come through the community foundation?
Right. Great question. And it's a question we get a lot. So if somebody wants to go and support a nonprofit by making a financial contribution directly to the nonprofit, they have the ability to do that. Some people, sometimes maybe they prefer anonymity. And so what setting up a donor advised fund with a community foundation can do is it can provide that anonymity. So if they want a little bit of a buffer in between the nonprofit and their gifts, sometimes they just want to be benevolent in our community. They want to make a contribution, but maybe they don't need the recognition. Maybe they don't need some of the other things that come along with making that gift.
Sounds like legal money laundering.
Yeah. For a very good purpose. But no, donor advised funds have really taken off in popularity because of the tax benefits they provide, because of the ease that they provide to the donor in making their contributions. Plus, we do all the back end administrative support. So we're managing the tax stuff. We're managing the money in, the money going out. We have a great financial partner in Mason Advisors. They manage all of our assets that we invest. So it's not me and Mary in the back room.
That was a question. I didn't know whether you were going up to live every, saying,
no,
okay, let's see if we can bet it all on 7.
All right. No, all on the up and up. We have a really great partner in Mason that they help manage about $12 billion in assets for over 50 community foundations and other nonprofits. So they're just a great partner. So they invest all the money. We do the administrative support of setting up the donor advised fund, or it could be a memorial fund. It could be a scholarship fund. It could be an endowment. So we can provide the tools that they need.
Well, I know when they had the Capitol shooting, from the Capitol Gazette tragedy back in 2018. You guys were very quick to establish a fund for the families, and it did really well. And that was a perfect example, I think, of how a community foundation is. It couldn't be any more community related than supporting our friends and loved ones that were affected by the Capitol shooting. But it was a temporary thing. It wasn't this ongoing. This was, let's get some immediate needs taken care of. Let's make sure that the families are good and move on. And it worked out really well.
Yeah, a community foundation is designed to be there to support a community also in times of crisis, right? So there are ongoing situations, but there are also these crises that happen. That happened just a little bit before my time here at the community foundation, but yes, they managed many, many donations, and they did a very, very good job of trying to target. They used what's called the horizontal equity method that was developed during 9/11 to make sure those who lost the most received the largest grants, and to make sure that the families were supported in the most equitable way possible. So yeah, but to your point about that being just a temporary thing, actually, after those funds were all sent out, we realized there are going to be other crises in our community. COVID was one of them. And so when COVID came around, we had that crisis fund sort of turned into the Anne Arundel County Crisis Fund, not just the Capitol Gazette. So what started in relation to the tragedy at the Capitol sort of gave a life to a new thing as well, so that as new funds came in, they could be allocated towards bigger issues. And so during COVID, the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County worked with the county executive's office. They had received federal funds. They came to us to partner so that we could get $1 million out to nonprofits. And we already had the people, the place, the procedures, all the things in place so that we could do that, so that it made it easier on the county executive's office, but it's so in our wheelhouse to try to say, all right, we can vet these nonprofits and make sure the right organizations are getting that money.
That's great. Well, I mean, so you're essentially for if I don't want to establish my own nonprofit or my own foundation or something like that, I mean, you do it. I mean, at the end of the year, as far as taxes go, I get, 1 or 2 forms from you, and you get the 900 other forms that need to that need to supply to the governments and everything else to file on my behalf and everything else. Is it that simple?
It is. We try to make it as easy as possible. So when a donor comes to set up a donor advised fund, it costs $250 to set that up. To start your own private foundation could cost you thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of, legal work and this, that, and the other thing. The Community Foundation already has an asset management committee in place. Our board oversees all of our investments. We have a great investment partner who's managing everything. So we really try to make it as easy as possible. And then the donor can just log into their online portal. They can see in real time what's happening, the growth of their fund, the donations they've made into the fund, the contributions they've made to the community, but also their IRS filing is all in there too. So it just makes it super easy.
Nice. Well, I mean, you talk about the donor funds and stuff like that. And let's go back to the guy to me that has $20 here, and I want to do something, and I realize that depending on what the nonprofit is, $20 can go a long way. Or if you go to a larger, Red Cross, I mean, it's probably going to be a drop in the bucket. I mean, that's just is the way it is. But I mean, what does somebody that is just getting into philanthropy or doesn't have an awful lot of money that wants to do that? I mean, does it make sense to set up a John fund with $20, 250 to you and 20 to the fund?
No, there is a minimum required investment to open a donor advised fund. But for somebody who doesn't necessarily have that much money, they want to make a $50 contribution that's going to help, let's say, youth in our community, their mental and physical well-being. They might make that $20 donation to our Fund for Anne Arundel County. Fund for Anne Arundel. And in that account, money is pooled. And at the end of the grant cycle, our grant review committee would look at all the proposals that came in that fit that criteria. They're a nonprofit. They're trying to help the physical and mental well-being of kids. And our grant review committee would say, okay, this $25,000 grant is going to this organization or this organization or this organization. So that's our largest grant fund program. So that $20 gift was going towards a much larger gift that was pooled funds going to a bunch of nonprofits in our county.
So really, there is no reason that anybody can't get involved with the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County.
We have a little something for everybody.
That's pretty wild. Now, okay, so you said we've got minimums to open up a fund. You can join a fund, if you will. When you have a donor advised fund, say if I come up with just sort of a very specific fund. I do know I've got a friend actually that has the Deems Digital Fund here, Gene Deems here.
Yep.
And I don't know whether that's the only tech focused one or not, but I mean, can I contribute into his fund?
Yeah. So if you go to the Community Foundation's website at cfaac.org and you click the Give button, they will give you an opportunity to click on List of Funds. And you can scroll through any of those funds and you can make a contribution to any of those funds. So you might recognize some of our memorial funds. Maybe it's somebody who you knew in our community and you want to support what that family is trying to support in the name of their loved one. So that's an opportunity. But there's also something else that's kind of fun too, and they're called giving circles. Are you familiar with those?
I am familiar with them in terms of the groups and primarily women.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. So here in Anne Arundel County, we have Anne Arundel Women Giving Together, right? And they just had their spring open house, not last night, but the night before. I was there. I was the one male in the room, maybe two. Right. But you have 350 women who are collectively giving. They're gathering their funds. We are the fiscal agent for Anne Arundel Women Giving Together. So when each member comes in, they put their money into a pot. That pot goes to us. The money is invested.
Right. That's their quote unquote membership fee.
That's
if you
right.
will, or your sign up fee.
That's
or
right.
Whatever.
And you can enter at many levels. They've really tried to lower the cost of entry so that you can have people from all different walks of life. We have a very diverse community of people represented with Anne Arundel Women Giving Together. And from what I hear from all the women who are members, because I'm not a member, I'm just part of the fiscal agent, they really enjoy the social aspect of it.
Chromosome thing.
They really enjoy the social aspect of it, and they really enjoy the impact. They've given over $1 million, actually almost $2 million, since they're coming up on 18, 20 years that they've been doing this. So Anne Arundel Women Giving Together is a an active and very successful giving circle here in Anne Arundel County, making big impacts.
Well, I know they have the other one, Impact 100 as well, which has a Chesapeake chapter, which is very similar. I don't know whether they're working with you guys or
not affiliated with us, but we applaud the work of anybody who's trying to support our nonprofit community.
Well, I was looking at your website again. You mentioned it was cfaac.org last night, and I was looking at your annual report, and impressive.
Thank you. Thanks to our donors.
Yeah. I mean, the colors were great. The pictures, but the 622 grants were given out for a total of $5.77 million. Right here in Anne Arundel County. Okay. It's not going to PG County. No offense to PG County or, Queen Anne's County or, right here in the county.
Well, the discretionary funds, those field of interest funds that I mentioned, they will only go to support nonprofits here in Anne Arundel County, or that the majority of their work is being done in Anne Arundel County. Now, some of the money that you saw that was granted out, that could have come through a donor advised fund. And those donor advised funds can direct funds anywhere in the country if they like, so long as it's a qualified 501c3. Now, the majority of the money is granted here in the county, but it is most accurate to say it can go anywhere in the country.
But that number just blew my mind.
It's a lot of money, and it's growing. We are so fortunate to live in a community that has not only a lot of resources, but just really generous people trying to do good work.
Nuts and bolts of finances of this thing. I mean, essentially, you get a whole lot of money. You work with brilliant people that figure out how to invest it to grow that money.
Yes.
And you take a bit of the growth and put it out while continuing to allow the principal or the bulk of the principal to continue to grow and earn money. And
talk about a gift that keeps giving. Endowments are a really powerful tool. If somebody in their legacy plan or if they've had a really good year and they want to set up a fund that literally is going to keep giving forever, an endowment is a great way to go. So it's a way of protecting the principal, but gives a distribution every single year to the nonprofits that they choose that are most aligned with their values. So yeah, endowments are really powerful tools. So some of our money is endowed, but we really try to get as much money out the door as humanly possible to do the most amount of good in our community.
How big is your largest fund? Do you know?
Oh my goodness. I don't know off the top of my head, but there are some sizable funds and some are getting bigger. We had, unfortunate news that somebody had passed away last year, and in their estate plan, they left a pretty sizable gift that we just finished administering. It set up some endowments. It set out some larger one-time gifts to some local nonprofits. So the impact is huge. And we're hearing about these numbers getting bigger because of a thing called the Great Wealth Transfer. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, some conservative estimates say in the next 20 years, $100 trillion with a capital T, $100 trillion is going to change hands from the boomers and the silent generation to Gen X, Gen Z, the millennials, all those folks. So a lot of money is getting ready to change hands through estate plans. Some of it's going to go through donor advised funds. Some of it's going to be straight bequests. But nonprofits stand to gain about $10 to $12 trillion in the next 20 years. That's a lot of money. So we are in a growth opportunity here. There was just an article in Chronicle of Philanthropy for those of you out there who are working in the fundraising world. Some really great quotes in there from some really great donors and other people across the country working towards making sure that $20, $100, $150 trillion, whatever it's going to be, is going into good hands.
Well, the country, the county, the city, everybody, I mean, we definitely need it. I mean, we've got a lot of problems that we need to solve. And I mean, that's, generosity is what does solve it. You talk about the donor advised funds. And I mean, I just realized or just learned fairly recently within the last year and a half or so about how excited just investors get as far as what they want. I mean, it used to be you want to invest. I want to invest in the things that make me the most money. End of the conversation. That's what I want. But now they're sitting there saying, no, I don't want somebody that is using coal in their production or whatever it may be. And I want to really affect my my carbon imprint with my money, with my investment, which is something that just sort of was somewhat foreign to me. It blew my mind. I was talking to a financial advisor and they said, oh yeah, no, we've got an awful lot of people that are sitting here saying, no, I don't want to invest in anything but green companies. And I mean, and I think you guys give a great opportunity to be able to do that, to be able to sit there and say, okay, what gets you as a donor? And that means the $50 donor or the $50 million donor excited. Where do you want to make the difference in the community?
So we, again, with the needs assessment report, we really try to track and assess and track over time what the greatest needs are in the community. So we want to make sure that Anne Arundel County is the best place for people to live, work, and play. Some people are still really struggling coming out of COVID.
So you're one administration behind here. It's just the best place, period.
Yeah.
County executive. It's just
See,
the
I
best
hear
place,
you.
period. Okay.
Right. Best place. That's true. Yeah. I mean, there are so many Dimension 1 needs where people are still trying to get food, get transportation, get the health care and the daycare for their children that they can afford. So as people, to your point, people tend to vote with their wallet, right? So they're going to put their money towards a product or a service that is most closely aligned with their values, which sounds a whole lot like what we try to do with our philanthropy. And making sure, my job is not to tell a donor where to put their money. It's really to listen to them and to try to make the connections between what they're telling me is most important to them and what nonprofit can deliver that. So yeah, we're trying to deliver. And again, to your point, no gift is too small and no gift is too large. We can always do something with that.
True. I mean, I'm amazed at some of these smaller nonprofits that I've seen, and I've done a number of these where you talk to, Hope for All up in Glen Burnie, and no idea that they existed. Fellow McRae, I had no idea they were as big as they are. It's so wonderful to see what we have, the wealth of generosity that we have in Anne Arundel County is pretty stellar.
It's so true. And you see these folks working in these nonprofits. They're so resourceful. They are so hardworking. Nobody's doing it to get rich or famous. They're doing it because they want to have a big impact on the community, which is why I love working in philanthropy, because it helps marry all that together. But yeah, Hope for All, really amazing organization doing great work to get goods to the community at an affordable price. And so much. I don't want to misrepresent what they're doing, but they just really do great work. And there's a very long list of grantees in our annual report that just came out. It's out online if anybody wants to see that. So we encourage you to support the local nonprofit community. And
Absolutely.
we're happy to help them do that.
Well, you've mentioned a couple of times the Poverty Amidst Plenty, which is a sort of a triannual report. And this is one publication that I look forward to seeing. I wish I didn't have to see it.
Yeah.
I wish you didn't have to produce it. But essentially, you work with Dr. Pam Brown, who takes the temperature and does a report card on the county of what the needs are. We look at affordability, homelessness, health insurance, who's insured, are there diseases, where we stand with COVID at this point, since it's still going to be around as the next one comes out. But that I would suggest for anybody, and it's not light reading, to look at that report when it comes out or look at some of the old ones, because you're going to be absolutely shocked at what you feel we are in such this affluent community. And I mean, my kid is in social work, and she's in charge of human trafficking in North Carolina. And I love to think that I live in this little bubble and like, oh, that doesn't happen here. But it does. And you don't realize how good this community is, as well as how bad it is. I don't want to say it's bad for the community, but I mean that
the needs are great. Yeah, the needs are great. There are some people some communities that have been, more impacted than others from economic downturns, from COVID, from things like that. So this report, it can be a pretty heavy read because there's a lot going on out there. And I think it is one of the best ways to really sort of quantify some of the need out there, so that when people say, where should I put my investment? We can have that conversation and identify nonprofits that are really trying to offset the harsh impacts of what's happening out there. And Dr. Pam Brown, she is such an amazing asset to this whole process. And she really brings an amazing amount of talent and academic just might to this whole process. So there are going to be some unveilings of the report this summer. We're going to be in North County. We're going to be out in West Anne Arundel County. I think we'll probably be at the Chesapeake Arts Center. We'll be at Live. We'll be here in central Annapolis area doing some of these presentations. So if you want to come and see Pam Brown talk through the presentation of this, it's a pretty compelling conversation.
She's an amazing person to sit there and listen to it.
She really is.
To be able to sit there and see what you don't normally see,
yes,
is pretty intense.
I have talked to a number of people and just had a meeting at this very table yesterday. Somebody who said, I became the executive director of a nonprofit back in 2022. And one of the first presentations I attended was Dr. Pam Brown talking about the needs assessment report. And he said it just blew him away. And it was a really profound moment for him.
The other thing that really was equally shocking to me is your celebration of philanthropy. And
Yay.
that's your annual yay, yay, rah, rah, we're great, and we live in a great community celebration.
Well, and celebrating some of the best philanthropists and volunteers in our community. So right now, we're about to open up the nomination process where nonprofits or individuals can nominate their favorite person. We've got like 9 different categories: Youth of the Year, Youth Volunteer of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, Philanthropist of the Year, Corporate Philanthropist of the Year. Say that 3 times fast. So you have all these opportunities to really highlight people who are doing some of this great work. And it's a big luncheon. It's October 29th this year. It's from 11 to 2. You can buy tickets online. They're about $100 a piece. All that money, that's the fundraiser for us because we are a 501c3. So the celebration of philanthropy is a way for us to celebrate philanthropy, but it's also a way for us to help
Pay the bills
and keep the lights on and paper in the copier and things like that for our nonprofit. Because so much of our work at the Community Foundation is really supporting other nonprofits. This celebration of philanthropy is our chance to say, here we are, please support us.
Well, I mean, and the other times I've been to that is just been amazing. The stories that come through at the level of philanthropy that the community steps
there's not
up.
a dry eye in the house.
You've got the kids that are working in schools.
Yes.
You've got a family that, last year there was, I don't remember the last name, but there was an African-American family up in North County that was recognized for decades.
Yes.
Of doing good to the community.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got you can drive by the hospital right up the road from here and you can see the big names in the community, okay, on the sides of the buildings. But there's so many that don't have names on the sides of the building.
Right.
They've got a name maybe on their mailbox in front of their house, but that's about it.
Well, and I was just so honored to be able to see Vince Leggett up on the stage last year. He started Blacks of the Chesapeake Foundation 40 years ago.
What a loss.
Such a huge loss. But for him, after having not taken a salary at that nonprofit for 40 years and just doing this work and really establishing Blacks of the Chesapeake as a really powerful partner in our community. And then very shortly after that event, he did pass away. And it was just, thank goodness we got a chance to honor him and the community got a chance to hear more about him and the work that he left behind.
A lot of people didn't realize all that he did. And I mean, he was instrumental in the city achieving the Cars Beach property.
Right.
Obviously the Blacks of the Chesapeake. I mean, he was influential in the historic Annapolis Museum that was built up there. It's amazing.
It is. And recognized as an Admiral of the Chesapeake back in the 90s.
Governor Glendenning named him the Admiral of the Chesapeake. I think there's only 5 of them, I think.
There are not many, but it was an honor that he really deserved. And that's right around the time when I met him. I was working on a skipjack in downtown Annapolis for the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And he was just, he's always been a great partner and I miss him dearly. He's a good friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to get into a little bit of a sort of a serious question. Not that the other ones weren't, but I've talked to a number of different nonprofits and the question I have is we're all getting older and we're all going to kick it. How do we get today's young people? How do we get the millennials, and I'm getting all the betas and the alphas and the and the Zs and all of those guys? How do we get them excited about it? Because what I'm hearing is that they want their means of giving is an experience. Okay, so I don't want to write a check to Greenscape, and I guess nobody writes checks anymore. I don't want to Venmo to Greenscape, okay, or I don't want to Cash App to Greenscape.
Just aged yourself right there, John.
But I do want to get out and plant those trees. And I do want to weed that garden bed and whatever it may be. And that's how they want to do it. But, weeding gardens and planting trees is wonderful. But if it doesn't, solve the problem, how do you engage the younger people to get into a mindset of philanthropy?
Well, and it's such a great question. And I love the fact that you can never start too early. Whether it's you're talking about just making an annual gift to your favorite nonprofit or getting into estate planning. We're seeing more people in their 40s getting involved with estate planning. Maybe you just had kids in your 30s and now you're thinking about, what happens if? And most people have an opportunity to put charitable giving into their estate plan. So we encourage people to have that conversation early, have that conversation often. So one of the ways that we can reach and make philanthropy more accessible to the younger generations is meet them where they are, right? So if it's on digital, we're going to make sure that there are digital offerings and that they're seeing our advertisements, that there's a QR code in our annual report. If they want to make a donation right now, they can do that in 3 clicks. I don't know that I've measured that, but it's pretty quick and easy. So we're trying to make getting involved as easy as possible. And one of the things I really like about community foundations is we're a small but mighty group here at CFAAC. We're 9 people. When you call our office, you're going to get us on the phone. When you send me an email, I'm going to get back to you very shortly that day. So we try to be accessible and make sure to meet people where they are. So we encourage anybody and everybody to get out there and go to the website, learn more about CFAAC. But for the older generation, you have an opportunity to sort of bring the next generation up. You have a chance to...
I think we have an obligation.
I would agree, right? So I think that if you are philanthropic as a parent, you have an opportunity to say to your children, here's what we're leaving you. Here's what we're leaving to the community through nonprofits at the Community Foundation. Let's get involved. Let's see and have that conversation. What values maybe are a little bit different in the next generation than the current generation. You don't have to give just like your parents or your grandparents did. Let's figure out what's really important to you and let's find a vehicle to make that happen.
Makes sense.
Thank you. I try.
No, I mean, it really does. And I mean, I think that, with raising children and stuff like that, I mean, yes, we can lecture them and we can, give them the rote learning stuff. But they do learn an awful lot about the behaviors of parents that are not taught. They're just observed over years and years and years. And I'm hoping that does carry over into this, to be able to sit there and say, these kids, I mean, these children today are making a lot more money than my generation certainly did. And hopefully, and obviously the cost of living and everything else has gone up. I don't know. I don't think it's quite proportionally, but that they are turning around and they're saying, okay, we need to save for ourselves.
Yep.
We need to save for our families and we need to save for our communities.
Yeah. And if people will even consider maybe putting 1%, right? It's 1% of their estate, the assets in their estate, into charitable giving, that could have a huge impact. So we encourage people to, if they have 3 children, maybe consider charity their 4th child, right? So not taking anything away from their existing children and their other priorities. If a donor considers their charity as the 4th child or 5th child, however many they have, then everybody wins. It creates a stronger community for our area, and hopefully it will make a big impact.
It's funny. A financial planner told me one time that if you want to make your grandchild a millionaire by the time they retire, you can invest, and I think it was something crazy. It was either $10 or $100, so it wasn't a whole lot. But I'm sitting here thinking now, as you were just talking about that, John, is saying, as the child is born, put in $100 into a fund.
Because you have time on your side, right?
Let that time go. Okay. And then as you're planning your estate, to sit there and say, okay, fine. When my child's children, or, let that grandchild that doesn't exist yet, make the decision on where that $1 million goes. At the time.
Well, and good financial advice is really important because, who do you trust and where do you go? And one of the things that I'm really proud of in the work that we do here at the Community Foundation, about 10, 12 years ago, some of the members here at the Community Foundation started what's called the Anne Arundel Estate Planning Council. So here's a group of CPAs, estate planning attorneys, and financial advisors and wealth managers getting together for networking events and education events. We have about 60 members right now, and they get together and they sort of talk about how they can best serve their clients, because clients don't usually need just one professional on their team. They usually need an attorney, a CPA, financial advisor. So when people ask us, do you know of a good estate planning attorney? I was like, yeah, we know a bunch, and here's a list of them. They can go to the website, the estate planning, Anne Arundel Estate Planning Council. It's right online. There's a whole directory of folks. So if anybody's looking for a financial advisor or a wealth manager or an estate planning attorney, they can find some of those folks.
Great resources.
We're trying like crazy. We would just want to make sure everybody has what they need and they can connect with somebody who's going to help them. And that's what we're here for.
CFAAC.org. Quick question again, as I was looking through your annual report, is it a requirement that you need to be named Larry to be the president and vice president of your board?
No, we got lucky with two very good Larrys. We have a wonderful, diverse board with so many different talents, and it just an anomaly of how it worked out this year. So, but they're great.
There you go.
Wonderful people.
Well, John, you've been in the nonprofit world for quite some time. And I mean, I know you said you came here just right before the Capitol. So, I mean, that was right after the Capitol. So it was probably 18, 19, something.
I came here in 23. So,
okay.
Yep. But yeah.
But beyond that, what surprised you the most when you came here?
Wow. I was surprised at how much this small organization has been able to accomplish. If you look at our annual report over the last year, you look at involvement with so many different nonprofits, but also professional partners. I'm just amazed at the reach that this organization has and how we literally offer a little something for everybody. I've been involved with nonprofits professionally since the late 90s. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I feel like a community foundation has a great model.
Well, I know I'm looking at the financial summary and the annual report. I mean, at the end of 23, I mean, you had 30.8 million in total assets, and in 24, just a year later, you had 41.4 on average. So I mean, you're obviously you're growing. I mean, this year might be a little bit of a challenge just with what's going on.
There's a little uncertainty in the market, as they say.
But the benefit that you're offering to our community is without reproach.
I appreciate that. We are trying to build assets so that more assets can go out the door. The idea that, those funds, we like to focus more on the amount of money that's going out. So there was a time when it was a big deal for this community foundation to grant out $1 million in a year. And now we're up to $5.5 to $6 million, sometimes almost $7 million.
That's crazy.
So we think that although the needs are great in this community, our philanthropic community is really stepping up, and they're doing great work.
Talk about, just curious, I'm going to throw this one out here, but I mean, we talked about the needs assessment through, poverty among plenty, poverty amidst.
That's right.
Plenty.
Yep.
With Dr. Pam Brown's report that she does for you. What is the total dollar? Do you have any idea of what the total dollar need was? I mean, if you had, let's use Musk because he's supposedly the most wealthiest guy in the world or something like that.
If he could stroke a check, what would it cost?
Yeah. Or Venmo you.
Oh, wow.
Because he's a younger generation, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that number is. That's a very hard number to assess.
Yeah.
The needs change every year a little bit. So I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. Unfortunately, that number is just too big for me to even fathom. But we're chipping away at it. And, as they say, the one way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Yeah. I guess that number probably does start at least with a B. So
I would suspect so.
I would think in Anne Arundel County. What surprises most people that all of a sudden come into or that learn about the Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County? What do you think? What people are surprised to go like, wow.
Yeah, I think impact is one. When I first came here in 2023, it was February, I started meeting with some of our larger fund holders, and I asked them why. Why a community foundation? Why would you do this when you clearly have the assets and the know-how to run your own philanthropy? And they said, it's just so easy, and the cost is so minimal. And that spoke volumes to me. Some people sometimes just want to partner in their philanthropy. Yes, they can write a check on their own directly to the nonprofit. We encourage that if that's what works for that person. But if somebody wants a little bit of help sort of organizing, planning, having a sounding board for where they want their philanthropy to go, we can provide those resources to them. And I guess some people who have been involved with this organization for a while as a donor, I think they are consistently pleasantly surprised by how easy it is.
Giving is easy. Making a difference in Anne Arundel County is easy. Community Foundation of Anne Arundel County really sort of facilitates that whole thing. And again, I do want to emphasize again, if you're looking to give $50, that's wonderful. CFAAC.org is a place to go. If you're looking to give $50 million, that's even more wonderful.
My phone number is, if you have that gift. Yeah, we would love to have it. Any gift of any size, we can make it work, and we'll make it meaningful for you.
Because it truly does make a difference. I know, when I had my travel agencies way back when, I would work with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and I would much rather give money to buy basketballs to work with their program than I would to, and I don't mean to diss on the, American Heart Association or the cancers, because a lot of that doesn't go there. I mean, I wanted it to impact, I wanted to see boots on the street, if you will.
Yep.
And with an organization like Community Foundation, you can do that.
Yeah, you can make a gift to a nonprofit. And if you want to restrict it to a specific program, you can do that. You have the flexibility to do that with your donor advised fund. If you want to give an unrestricted gift, you can do that too. So you have options. And again, my job is to really figure out what it is that's going to make your philanthropy most meaningful and impactful to you and your family, and then try to provide the tools that'll make it happen.
True.
So,
and one of the things I'm getting out of this as we just really wrap up here is that philanthropy is a multisyllabic word that sounds big and daunting and looks like it's from the Rockefellers and and the big names and the Musks and the Bezoses and everything else. It doesn't have to be.
That's right.
It can be the Smiths and the Joneses and the Franklins and everything else. So, and if you get that mindset, you're going to get whatever it is that you're philanthropizing. Here's a word I'm going to make up. Back in spades, in how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the community. And I mean, if you do love Anne Arundel County and where we live, and I mean, there's very little not to love about this place.
That's right.
We need to get on the stick and really help support it in any way we can.
That's right. And if you look at that word, philanthropy, it literally means love of people. And it is one of the most generous and loving things you can do to make a contribution.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.